when I read an article. I want to flash this and let us see this interesting insight. When the communists took over in Russia, this is by Eric Swanson, he said when the communists took over Russia in 1917, they did not make Christianity illegal. Their constitution, in fact, did guarantee freedom of religion. But what they did make illegal was for the church to do any good works. No longer could the church fulfill its historic role of feeding the hungry, welcoming the stranger, housing the orphan, educating the children, or caring for the sick. It was interesting because, if you remember, I mentioned this a couple weeks back, that the church then, the Christians, had no authority, no influence, no power, no wealth, no resources, but they were given the Great Commission to advance the kingdom of God, and yet they conquered almost the whole Roman Empire with love and good deeds. And so here in 1917, this was the command, or this was the law. Yes, you can practice your religion, just don't serve people. And then it says, what was the result? 70 years later, the church was totally irrelevant to the communities in which it dwelt. What Lenin did by diabolic design, most churches have done by default. But the result is identical. Church is irrelevant to most people. Take away service and you take away the church's power, influence, and evangelistic effectiveness. The power of the gospel is combining the life-changing message with selfless service. How many of you know that's insightful? That when something becomes irrelevant, it'll ultimately become insignificant. And so today we see that the church sometimes becomes insignificant or irrelevant because this ceases to happen, selfless service. How much, and the question behooves us, how much of our apathy individually diminishes the power of the church corporately to be relevant and effective in a dying world? You see, the church today there's a call onto the church today. In fact, young people, you hear the next generation today, they know about Syria. They know about what's happening in the different nations of the world because of Twitter and because of the news online. They see that the world is broken. They want to get involved and they want to be involved in bringing change. But if the church is not in the forefront in serving, we lose the battle by default or by forfeit. And so James, when he talks about this in chapter 1, 2, 3, and 4, you could summarize what he's saying is in this equation: faith plus nothing equals nothing. In other words, what he's saying is, yes, you may say that you have faith, but if there is no evidence after that, there's no good works, then all that is for nothing. Right? I remember what Martin Luther said. He said this: we're saved by faith alone, but faith that saves is never alone. What's he saying? That you and I today, right, we're saved by grace, only by grace through our faith. Ephesians chapter 2, verse 8 and verse 9. No one is ever saved by works. However, no one is saved without producing works. There has to be the evidence of works.